In this bass lesson, I'm going to show you exactly how to take some simple music theory concepts and create better bass lines with them. So we're talking about the relationship between scales and modes, triads, arpeggios, and harmony, a little bit of melody, some rhythm. That's really important for us bass players. And by the end of this lesson, I'll show you how to use these things in your bass lines. I have a backing track split into 2 sections for this lesson. You can download that below. Now, the first section contains these chords. All of these chords belong to the key of F minor. And let's just break down this chart here. This is essential. We have a key. Now, this is F natural minor. It contains 7 notes. On every single one of those different notes, we can create a triad, an arpeggio, and a chord. And when you understand this relationship, you can really do anything. Let me play the first section of this, and then I'll explain a few things. So we have F minor to A flat, D flat major 7 to C minor. I need to explain something here, because if you understand how those chords fit together within a key, then some magic can happen. So look, we've got the notes of F minor here. F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, and F. And on each of those notes, if you play the scale starting on 1, let's do this on F. So you've got F, go up 3 to A flat, so that's the 3rd. Go to the 5th, that's C. That's a very simple F minor triad. We can actually do this on every single note of that scale to create different arpeggios and chords. I'll continue with this example though. If I add a 7th in above that, so 1, 3, 5, 7, I have an E flat. That's a flat 7th within that chord, or arpeggio. We play them notes separately. The guitars and pianos are going to be playing them together, and that becomes a chord. So even with that, we have a lot of information. We have the scale. We have the triad. We have the 7th arpeggio. And let's see what that sounds like now. I'm going to expand to the different roots. I'll do those things as well. I'll go triads, then I'll go 7th arpeggios, then I'll go mode. I'll explain that after. Now, a bass line is nothing without rhythm and without space. But before I go on to that, I'll just explain modes. So on the F, we have F natural minor, otherwise known as F Aeolian. Just playing the notes of the key. F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat, F. If you go to the A flat, the next chord, and you play those same notes just starting on A flat, you get a mode. Now that's A flat major or A flat Ionian. The major scale and the natural minor scale are related. They're very important. Fast forward to D flat and play the notes from there. We get the Lydian mode. And then on C, you get the Phrygian mode. So I just played a triad or an arpeggio or a mode. And when you're playing and when you're learning theory, you understand these intellectual concepts and you work on them. And then you play loads and you, very importantly, you learn bass lines and you try to analyze what's happening, because all of these things are happening, but in more interesting ways. Let's move on to rhythm and I can explain that a bit better. Right, I'm going to take a combination of these ideas and I'm going to stick to a rhythm, probably 1 or 2 rhythms, and I'm going to leave space, and it's going to sound better than me just playing scales up and down. was doing there brings me nicely to the next point, which is melody. I want my bass line to be something that you can sing. I'm going to go into styles in a minute, and we've just lost a great, Aston Barrett, the reggae genius bass player, and he would say that when he came up with a bass line, he would sing it. He wanted it to be a melody, and that's such an inspirational thing. And to get that going on, you just use notes of the key, really. Whether you're thinking modes or you're thinking the overall key of F natural minor, use those notes to link up those chords, and you're going to get a melodic sounding bass line. So on the F. Even that, actually, just keep it simple. Leaving space. Space is so important. The D flat now. You know, just that. I'm using notes of the scale. There I went chromatic. That's notes from outside the scale leading into that C minor in this case. Going down. Now when you analyse bass players and their different ways of playing, going to Aston Barrett used a lot of triads. That's what happens in reggae a lot. I'm saying that all reggae bass lines are triads, but a lot are. You know, you can add melody by using some other notes from the scale. Try this. Just take one idea, just to simplify things a little. Don't forget that you can download this backing track and try anything you like with this. I'm just going to take the first 3 notes of whatever chord I happen to be on. So like F, I'll just do F, G, A flat. When I go to A flat, I'll do A flat, B flat, C. When I go to D flat, D flat, E flat, F, and C, C, D flat, E flat. Just using the first 3 notes, and I will stick to one rhythm and I'll leave space. Quite a tidy little bass line there, which went octave at the end there. The ideas that you can generate from this, I hope you can see, are absolutely endless, and it comes from a knowledge of some of these elements of music theory. And you really can break down any bass line into its constituent parts of there's the groove, that's the rhythm going on, these are the note choices, there's a lot of triads going on there, there's a lot of use of the overall key and what have you. Once you can learn these things, once you can understand them, once you can hear them, that will really help with how you hear music. You can really learn from the great bass lines of all time, and that's really going to help your bass playing. This backing track has a second part to it, where we have the chords B flat minor 7, C minor 7 to F minor 7. Now look how those chords fit into the jigsaw puzzle of the overall chords of the key. We have F minor, B flat is the 4, so this is the 4 chord. The 5 chord is C minor, and then the F minor chord is the 1. And each of these chords has its column of triad, arpeggio, mode. And with that information, as I mentioned before, you can do so much. Let's have a listen to that section. Go on and on and on. The first time I was sticking to a minor 7th arpeggio approach. I know that that chord contains those chord tones, the chord tones that make up a B flat minor 7 arpeggio. And I know that if I play around with those notes and use some interesting rhythms, I have a bass line. I am using some techniques. Ghost notes, hammer-ons sound really good. That's very much dependent on the style. I'll talk about that a bit in a minute. And then I went space. Notes from the key again. That was a chromatic approach to the F minor. Just means going from a couple of frets below to lead into it. It gives a good forward motion into that. Now that kind of thing, I know my overall key is F minor, so if I use some F minor pentatonic, then that's great for fills like this. Root, flat third, and that's just the fourth. You can use that same pattern on any minor chord. That's just an F minor pentatonic scale. Theory allows you to understand how all these components fit together. When you learn lots of bass lines, you come up against this stuff over and over and over and over again. Loads of people think it's really difficult music theory. But when you sit down and study bass lines and analyze them, you hear the same core concepts coming over and over again. Now, very quickly, I have a music theory course where I go way deeper into all of this stuff and a lot more. If you are interested in that, I'll put a link below. I'll just finish by taking a couple of these chord progressions and running it through a couple of different styles, a couple of different ways of playing the same chord progression. That comes down to listening to different styles to know roughly what players in different styles do. And you come up with some different combinations of rhythms and use of triads and techniques and tones. If we talk about Aston Barrett and reggae, and there's some palm muting here, I'll do the first chord progression. I'll use some triads. You know, something simple like that, you might go into the reggae kind of territory. What about another player I love, James Jamerson? Busy, 16th note stuff I'm using. I'm using a jazzier approach. He was a jazz player, primarily, so he's using approach tones, he's using walking bass lines almost, and he's using chromaticism, all these kinds of things. If you listen to his bass playing, you'll hear that. What about pop? Pop is great for hooks, really melodic hooks, and this is more of a pop style. So if I was coming up with a pop bass line, no, let's think. Let's have the backing track for this. I'll go back to the other one. I'll try and find something melodic. I don't know, something like that. I'm just the root note sliding up to the octave, doing that thing I did earlier of the first three notes of the notes in the key, right? Using some space. Same idea there, you know, and so on. If you were to create a funk bass line with this, then we would lean very heavily on rhythms, perhaps syncopated rhythms. So if we're going 1, 2, 3, 4. Those were just octaves. You know, this kind of thing. You can funk things up by using certain techniques and certain applications of these music theory ideas we're talking about. As I say, I go much deeper into that in my theory course and in all my other theory lessons. So I'll put a playlist right here of music theory ideas to help you create bass lines. If you've got any questions whatsoever, let me know. Make sure to download that backing track. It has the two sections side by side, and just come up with bass lines all day long. You really can. Thanks for watching. See you next time.